Hey home bakers, it's Jack here, bakewithjack.co.uk, bringing you your weekly bread making tip every single Thursday. And this week I want to show you how to make these lovely little lemon shaped rolls exactly the same size. Roll it! Hey home bakers, and welcome back to the Bake with Jack YouTube channel, where I share with you a little bit of my expertise every single week in a bread making tidbit video like this one. If that's up your street and you're new, consider pressing that subscribe button and joining the party. Let's get on with it. This is something I sort of take for granted, I guess, getting everything exactly the same size. But some people have asked me how it's done. How do you get them all uniformly the same size? Let's go through with it with these little lemon-shaped rolls to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Cut to the table. Okay, here's my dough. It's been kneaded, it's rested up for an hour, and it's ready for the shaping stage. Let's go through with statistics. It's a straight up yeasted dough made with 80% white flour, 20% wholemeal flour, half a kilo of flour in total. It's 65% hydration with a little touch of olive oil to keep everything soft. Did you get all that? Good. I've got a few things here to help me out. One is this calculator. 2, standard box of flour with a Bake with Jack scraper inside, and the weighing scales. The first thing we need to do is weigh this dough to see what it weighs. I want to get 12 rolls out of this dough, which I think is more than doable with half a kilo of flour dough. But first, in order to get them all the same size, I want to weigh each one. And in order for me to find out how big they should be, I need to weigh the dough as a whole and work it out. So I'll pop that on there and let's see what it is, shall we? 849. Let's call it 850, shall we? 850 grams divided by 12 is 71 grams. All right, let's go with 70 grams and see how far we get with that. 70 grams per roll. Let's get that off there. Now I'm just going to cut 12 pieces. I'm just going to cut the first one to see where we're at first. 112, that's 112, right? I'll take a little piece off and we'll get it down to 70. 73, that'll do. A couple of grams either side is okay at this stage. Okay, we're just going to go through and do it all. 77, a bit too big. Here we go. I always recommend this. You might want to cut on the scales. I never cut on the scales. I feel like putting additional pressure on top of scales is probably a bad idea. Whether it is or not, I don't know, but I prefer to take it on and off, getting them all together. This one, for example, look at that, it's exactly 70. I'll just put those 3 little offcuts together, and you can do that at that stage, that's fine. Just put offcuts together if you need to make up the amount and work your way through. Hopefully you'll get 12 around about a similar size. You can be bang on the gram if you want to. If you're going onto the bake-off, get bang on that gram. But for us at home, a couple of grams either side is not really going to be that noticeable. Okay, get rid of the scales. Now we got 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We've still got 12. That's good news. 12 pieces of dough now. They're the right way up. Sticky side is underneath, so I'm going to flip them upside down and make them all into balls. Now our final roll is not ball shaped, okay? But in order to get them all the same, if we want to shape them all the same way, it's much more difficult to shape that in the same way as shaping that, for example, and get the same shape at the end. So the best thing to do is to make them all a nice uniform shape for us to deal with. Then afterwards, a nice little roll like this. If you've probably seen this technique before in the video I did about shaping up a roll. Just flipping it over, folding it in on itself, turn it over so the smooth side's on the top, and tying it up into a nice, smooth, round ball. I'm using minimum flour, always minimum flour I can get away with. In fact, I haven't put any on the table at all. I put some on the top of the dough when I turned it out. Other than that, it's all cool. It's not sticking, it's fine, I can get away with it. 12 little balls, all the same size. And if you're doing round rolls, all the same size, this is it. This is as far as you take it. We're going to take it an extra step further to get those little lemon-shaped rollies. Okay, that's them all done. I'm going to line them up nicely. It's just a little bit more pleasing to look at, isn't it? Let's be honest. Like that. Wonderful. get my cloth and put it back on the top. These are bouncy balls now, okay? They're tight, bouncy balls. If I try and shape these up into something else now, it's not really going to happen. This is called the pre-shape, and this is the rest before the final shape. I'm literally going to give it, because they're small, 5-10 minutes just to rest and relax, and then we'll do the final shape after. A little touch of dust just in case things dry out. I don't think they will. And we'll come back to these. 5 to 10 minutes max, I reckon. Okay, so here we are, and I think they're ready to go. That was 10 minutes in the end today, by the way. They're much softer, relaxed much more, ready to go for the final shape. The first thing I'm going to do, because I've slightly stitched myself up here by putting these here, is I'm going to move these across here to free up this workspace here. So I've got maximum space that I can work in with nothing on it. Now, one thing to know is I'm going to start up here doing my shape. I'm going to start up here doing my shape because this is the first one I rolled into the ball. That means by the time I got to this one here, the last one, this one theoretically, well, actually has had less time resting than this one. This one's the most rested and this one's the least rested. So hopefully, if I do it the same way, I'll end up with this one last and it would have caught up with the rest of them. Really, the difference is so minor, but there is a difference if you want to get them exact. I've got 2 trays here lined with parchment paper are ready to go. I'm just going to put them up here out of the way where you can't see, just so I can put my rolls on there as we go along. There we go. I'm going to start with this top one. So the top one is going to be my sort of tester one. This is where I'm going to decide what I'm going to do. Working on principle, I'm going to decide what I'm going to do to transform this into a nice lemon-shaped roll. So a little bit of dust, just in case you need it, on the top only. Turn it up the other way, upside down. Now, a little press, my fingers and knuckles, into a nice circle. And I'm going to give a couple of rolls, a couple of folds, sorry, into a nice lemon shape. So a little press, fold, 1, 2, I think that will do. And then I can give it a little roll. With the sides of my hands, I'm going to make the ends a little bit pointy. I could do with a little bit more space on this table, but we're going to go with it anyway. That's fine, like that. Seam underneath, that little roll goes onto my tray. Now, all I've got to do is remember exactly what I did and do exactly the same, upside down. Push, 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 push. 1 fold, 2 folds. Roll, roll the corners, like that. Number 2 done. And hopefully, they'll all be the same. Upside down, push, push, push. Fold, fold, roll, roll the ends. Exactly the same way every single time. So there they are, 12 lemon-shaped rolls, pretty much identical. I didn't do too bad actually. I put them on 2 trays to give them plenty of room to puff up, because I might as well. There's 2 shells in the oven already. All I'm going to do now is give it a little dust of flour all over each. In fact, I'm going to pick one up and just have a little roll in the flour for good coverage. There's one more thing that I want to do to these, which is give it some nice decorative cuts on it. Now, I don't want these to bust open in the oven, to burst open like the top of a baguette. I just want to cut them for a little bit of decoration, let them prove up, and then put them in the oven after I'm looking for that burst. So I'm going to cut them now before they've proved up. I could use a grignette for this. If you've got a grignette, you can use a grignette. That's the razor blade. However, because I'm at this early stage and everything's a bit firm, I can get away with using a tomato knife like this. You can use this. Later on in the proving, you can't get away with this because it's too clumsy. It's not like a grignette. It's too clumsy. But at this stage, I can get away with it. So a few little cuts exactly the same way on each one before I leave it to prove up. When you're doing stuff like this and you want to get them all the same, it might seem like I'm being a little bit particular, but you have to be particular to get them all the same. If you put them already down at the same angle each time, then you can slice it the same way every single time without having to adjust your body in between, because that's when you're going to start getting inconsistencies. These, I'm going to let these prove up for about 40 to 45 minutes. I want to take them right to the cusp of the puff so they don't get too much oven spring. I'm not looking for them to burst open the top. I just want them to open nicely during the proving. I'm going to bake them for about 12 to 15 minutes on about 230 degrees, which is maximum on my oven, with plenty of steam. They should hold a nice shape because I shaped them all exactly the same way. They should puff the same, they should bake the same, and all come out looking the same. We'll see, shall we? So there you have it. That's how to get those lovely little rollies exactly the same shape and exactly the same size. You just do exactly the same thing, and it might sound obvious, but it's something that I touched on in that video about how to slice a loaf of bread. You slice every slice exactly the same way and it'll always be exactly the same. It just sounds obvious to me, but nothing is obvious to everybody. This is the sort of repetition that a baker has on a day-to-day basis. And when I was working in a bakery, shaping up hundreds of loaves, one after the other, after the other, after the other, that's the sort of repetition you get, and that's how you get exactly the same size. Practice, practice, practice. Thank you so much for hanging out with me every single Thursday for your weekly bread making tip. I look forward to seeing you here next week for another one. Don't forget, if you thought about clicking that subscribe button at the beginning and forgot about it along the way, don't forget to click that subscribe button. It really helps me out a ton. I'll see you next week for another bread making tip. Bye bye.